Bye.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi, all.
Hi, all. Waiting for everyone to connect. We'll
Yeah.
wait for like a couple of minutes before starting the real thing.
The real deal.
Real deal. It's getting serious.
Hi, Alan. Ah, yeah. Shout out to the intersex family.
Aw. Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh.
It's like it's 9 a.m. here. I was lucky I got up enough earlier to, up early enough to see the event.
There we go. Good timing.
Alrighty, yeah. So for everyone joining in now, we're gonna wait a couple more minutes because I think people are still joining in. But really excited to have you all here. Hi, everyone. Hiya. Okay, so apparently we have 109 people joining us today. So let's wait a little bit longer. Aw.
Okay, I think 10 minutes is long enough, if that's okay with everyone. Shall we start? Thank you so much, everyone, for spending some of your Thursday afternoon with us. I am going to start by just reading a little bit about DigiGal and sort of mapping out the project and why we're all here today. So myself, Innocent, Tabby are part of the collective DigiGal. I've got a few notes down, so please excuse my obvious reading. So since its inception in early 2018, DigiGal is an inclusive 24/7 global community and support network championing women, trans, intersex and non-binary people who specialize in 3D design and animation. So together our interests and skill sets include digital fashion, 3D clothing, 3D product and accessory design, Spark AR, which is what we're going to be looking at today, creative coding, 3D scanning, motion design, augmented reality, virtual reality, creative direction, graphic design, social change, and more. That list has got bigger since I last looked at it, but we're growing every day. As a community, DigiGal offers each other with technical guidance, industry and business advice, and general creative support. So we collaborate, organize meetups, skill share, and curate shows together. We're a very close-knit community. Despite being rooted in 3D design and animation, it allows space for a wider conversation and support from university to freelancing to cyberbullying. It has bloomed into many friendships, which are incredible, as well as collaborators, which is really useful, and yeah, it's great. But what some people love most about the network is that they always have someone to talk to 24 hours a day, because DigiGal is spread worldwide. So DigiGal acts as a sounding board filled with artists and designers from all over the world. No matter who is online, DigiGal is always awake and always looking after you, us, everybody who's involved. DigiGal is a place for everything. Yeah, like we said, professional work, but also more personal advice, as well as being birthed through online connectivity. We also connect and plan physical meetups in smaller pockets around the world. So myself and Tabby are based in Berlin, and Ines is based in Paris. So yeah, that is a little lowdown of DigiGal and sort of why we have been approached by Nike and Zalando to give this kind of workshop for their new sneaker release. So yeah. My name is Danny, aka Intersexy, and I am an intersex activist and just creative person in general. So yeah, that's me.
I guess that's my turn now. I'm Ines Alpha. I'm a digital artist, and I created what I've called 3D makeup, which is makeup but in 3D using digital software, and part of DigiGal, and created this amazing filter you can see on our background for this campaign for Nike and Zalando.
Cool. And yeah, I'm Tabitha, based in Berlin, as Danny said. Yeah, I'm originally from Canada, have been here for about 4 years. I'm a pretty multidisciplinary designer, so moving from like graphic design to like, I also have a background in marketing, but then more interested now in like UX UI and like 3D animation, virtual reality, stuff like that. I'm also a teacher, so I teach at the Design Academy of Berlin. And then right now I'm also working on a VR therapy project with Charité here in Berlin. Yeah, and we're really excited to do this today. So the filter we are going to make is kind of a compilation collaboration filter between all of our different filters that we made for this Nike campaign. Yeah, and so we have like a mask from Ines, we have a shoe from me, we have this like shiny face from Danny, and we brought it all together to share it with you. You can kind of take what we teach you here to, you know, either remake exactly what we've done, you can edit it yourself, you can really make it your own. And then, yeah, when you do, it would be really cool if you share it with us, tag us in it. We would love to see it. We would love to, yeah, just check out what you're up to after this. So without further ado, I think we should start.
So I'm gonna share my screen. You can open Spark AR on your computer. I hope you've all downloaded it. You can just either just follow what we're saying and follow the screen and take notes. Don't hesitate if you have any question during our talk. We'll check the chat later on. We won't answer the questions right away, but we will do it at the end. There will be a Q&A. So feel free to follow the tutorial while we're talking, or just take notes while you're watching the screen. So I'm gonna share my screen, desktop. Here we go. Here is my desktop wallpaper, which is quite cute, I think, personally. So open Spark AR, and then you will see that you have couples of templates, which are really practical, convenient, really easy to, as a start, to play with the software. So you can see when you roll over, you have like a video example of what you can do. So world object, face decoration is the one we're going to use, but you can see there are like different ones that you can play with depending on what you want to do. So we'll start with the face decoration because we planned to add 3D objects following the face. So this one looks like it's going to be useful. So open face decoration. I hope you can see my screen and it's okay. send a message if you don't see my screen or if you can't hear us or anything. So you have this, this is the view of the software. So you have, this is the 3D view where you can zoom in and out with your mouth or trackpad. If, I don't know if you're, I'm on Mac and not on PC, but on Mac, if you use Alt, you can move around, and if you use Command, you can click and then move around, rotating in your scene. You can see there's already this template video that you can use at the preview. This is the preview window. You can change this video. Here on the left, you have a video button. You can change the video and like choose your favorite character. And you can also use your own webcam camera. So now you can see me, and you can see I'm a glasses face. I love this color. Suits my look. So, and you can also upload your own video, but you don't need that now. So so yeah, you can pause or play when you need it, when you like need to look closer to your scene. Sometimes it's like cool to pause a little bit, but we'll stay on play for now. So as you can see, here you have the scene with all your objects, camera, light, and even the microphone. If you want to add music, you can add speakers. Here you have all the assets that you can drag and drop in here. Here you have the layers. We may see it a little bit, but layers enables you to, like in Photoshop, you can add the glasses, and on another layer, if you want something on top, you can add another layer without impacting the layer that it's underneath, but maybe we won't need that as a beginning. On the sorry, on the right, you have the parameters of everything. So all the options, like every time you click on the light, the face tracker, you have all the options that you can tweak and play with on the right, and all the details of everything. So here you can see you have, with this template, you have the face tracker that is like already implemented. You have the glasses obviously delete because we don't need them. And also have an occluder, and we'll see how it is useful for very quickly. So first, you drag and drop. We've made a folder with a couple of assets, the 3D object, the textures. Yeah, that's mainly it. And so first we'll drag and drop the 3D object. So you can either use 3D softwares like Blender, Cinema 4D, you create your own 3D assets. You can also use free 3D elements that you can download on TurboSquid or any kind of free 3D websites. So this one, I designed it for the campaign in the tutorial. So you export your 3D object as an FBX, and I think OBJ Word as well. So you drag and drop that in your assets, and then it is here. So you take the mask, and you see there's the drag here element, and you drag your element here, and it's on my face. It's not exactly where I imagined it, but it's already following my face, which is pretty convenient. So now I'm gonna first maybe place it where I imagined the face mask would be, so not obviously not on my eye. And you can see already that the face occluder is working because it's hiding half of my mask. So I'm gonna just hit, no, I'm not gonna hit pause, but so I'm just using the arrows to see, it's like moving on the axis that I need. I don't need the other axis, obviously, because it's already centered. And I'm gonna place it a little bit down. And now it's too far. So I'm gonna place it back a little bit. And now it's like on my face approximately where I needed it. But sometimes with the occluder, as I have like a, oh shit, it's not centered anymore. Just gonna add 0 again everywhere. And it's worse than before. So that's good. And it's, oh, it has rotated. That's really good thing. I haven't touched the rotation, but you can play with rotation as well. You have all those, so here you have, this is for the position, this is for rotation, which I don't want to use, and this is for rotation, but I don't want to use that, and scale, if you need to scale it up or down. So I'm gonna just place it again. And so you can see the occluder is working. And obviously this mask has no texture on, so I'm gonna quickly create a texture to apply to it. So you can go on the mask, and here you have the materials, which is where you add material on your mask. So you create a new material, and it automatically creates a material here that I'm gonna call silver, because we created silver material for this tutorial. So it's already applied on my mask, which is great. Here you have the diffuse is the color of the mask that you can change if you wanted to have something fancy. You have different kind of materials. So flat is just a color. Physically based is what we're gonna use because it's what's closer to realistic renders. And face paint is more if you want to add graphic elements on the face, following the face shape, like paintings or image on like flattened on the face and blended. I don't even know how. I don't really use that. It's just like blended modes. But for now, we're gonna use this one. So we wanted something metallic. So here you can push metallic to the maximum. It's already reflecting some lights. But as you may know, in reality, you have an environment around you to have reflections. Otherwise, here in the scene, there is nothing. So it reflects just the light because there's nothing around me. So there's this environment option on the texture parameter that you can take. And here, you're gonna add an environment, but you don't have any. So in the assets, you can add an environment texture, and there is a library that you can get that is made for Spark AR where you can find a lot of the stuff, 3D object, music and sound, even patch. And in the textures, you have some environment. So this is gonna create things to reflect in our texture, and it's gonna look way more. So you download it. Now I'm done. Yeah. And you will see my texture. So I'm going back to my texture and my environment, and I'm gonna choose the garage and see how it looks great and pretty realistic. You can see how it reflects everything that is around me. And you can even rotate it. It's not very necessary for this one, but when I rotate it, it changes the reflection, but I'm gonna keep it to 0. Tiling, you don't need it. And render option, it's like, I want something realistic, so I'm gonna stay with alpha, but you could have someone that plays with some other blending options, but I'm gonna keep alpha. And for now, you don't need the other parameters, but imagine you wanted to change the color and get a fancy mask. You can easily do that, which is great. And you can also play with roughness. I'm gonna change it a little bit to like 40%. So it's reflective, but more like silver than mirror. But that's just a matter of, like it's a personal choice. I think I wanted to show very quickly how to add, I mean, you can add shadows underneath your 3D object. That's what I like to do because it makes it even more realistic. So quickly, if you want to do that, you can add, so here you can add a lot of objects. So you have your scene, and here you have all the objects you can add in your scene. So here, if I want to add a shadow underneath my objects, I need a face mesh. So I'm gonna add a face mesh and insert it. And now it's not related to my face tracking, so I'm gonna add it underneath my face tracking. And now it's doesn't look good, but it's here. I'm gonna create another material that I'm gonna call it shadow. And this is the way I'm gonna do a shadow is the kind of the same way you could add some makeup on your face. It's gonna look like I have something painted on my face. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add an image that I'm gonna first add in my assets. And you can find this image in the folder we made. So this image, I created it in my 3D softwares. It's called Ambient Occlusion. And if you're familiar with 3D softwares, you might know that you can export textures from your objects. So if you really want to dig into that, you can ask questions in the chat and we'll answer maybe later. But quickly, if you have exported those ambient occlusion that I'm going to use for the shadow, so it's in my assets. I'm going to add it in my texture, and now you can see, but there's a shadow, but now the occluder is, am I too long? Sorry. So sometimes you can have those kind of problems with the depth. And now you can see my shadow underneath is, there's no problem now with, don't forget to name properly your assets, otherwise you will be lost. So then you can see there's a shadow on my face now, and you can adjust that with the parameters and like play with the opacity, and now it looks more realistic. So I'm gonna leave it for here now. I hope it was clear enough. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and go back to the talk. And so I hope it was clear. Yeah, Danny, you're next.
So thank you so much. So I will share my screen now with all of you. Like Tabby said, we're gonna, like Ines has said, we are going to be doing questions at the end. I know it's quite a lot to absorb in a short amount of time. So please, if you have anything that you're unsure about, just make a note of it and we will do our best to answer it at the end. So this is kind of where we left off with Ines. As you can see, I've got my, can everyone hear me okay? I haven't forgotten to unmute myself or anything. No, we're all good. So I'm gonna make your skin nice and glowy, that kind of very typical filter aesthetic, nice glossy skin with a light. So this is what we're gonna do now. So if you can see my mouse, I'm gonna go up to the top left-hand corner and put add, and it gives me this drop-down menu, 3D objects. And then I'm gonna add a face mesh. So this is my face mesh now coming up to the bottom of the screen. This is shadow under the, you can see it is now face. I will quickly change that to me so you can see. Beautiful currently. Okay, so we're gonna change this to shiny. Like Ines said, it is a nightmare if we don't name all of our assets. And then we are going to create a material for this mask by coming over to the opposite side of the screen, and in the properties bar, there's a little word materials, and we're going to just press the plus next to that and create a new one. So when you do that, over on the left again in the assets bar, it's got materials and it says material 0. If you create any material, like new, it will come up as material 0, and if you don't rename them, material 1, 2, 3. So we're going to rename that to shiny. And then like our like mask thing, we are going to change it to physically based, which is at the top of the materials panel up here where I'm flicking between. And we're going to click on physically based. And then we are going to turn metallic. And this is kind of where we were a minute ago. We've got that kind of like a little bit of light reflecting, but not a lot. So we're going to go back down to environment, just like we did before, and click the box to the right. Now, because this has already done us a favor of importing our texture, we can just go ahead, click on the drop down, and we've got the Skylit Garage, which we used for the mask as well. So now we've got that really nice, shiny, reflecting garage. We are going to click on our, let me just move my, here we go. Click on the advanced render options. Again, with the depth, it can kind of get, to be fair, even I don't understand this kind of stuff either. I just know to untick the box. So just untick the box, and then we've got our face uncovered, which is great. And I'm going to put the roughness up to 36%. This is how we've decided before we, like in the final file, it's on 36%. So just to make sure that you guys have got the same thing. And we're going to come back down to the render options and change the opacity. We can go like there, not there, not there, not there. And I'm going to put that on 36 as well. So if you can see, there's quite a harsh line around my face, which isn't very fashion, if you ask me. So I'm going to blend that into my face, do a bit of contouring, and I'm going to go back up here. I don't know why mine says albedo. I swear this normally says alpha or something. I'm not really sure, but I'm here. I'm kind of circling it with my mouse. And I am going to upload a texture, which is in the folder that we have provided you. If you want to go into the folder, finished, and then it's in textures. And I think it's this one. So it's called face underscore alpha in brackets 1. And I'm going to add that into that texture part. Ooh. Hold on. Why is this doing this? Okay, let me try that again. Shiny. Yeah, there we go. So now it's not a harsh line. It's kind of more, yeah, blended into the face. So after that, what we are going to do is go into the project up in the top left and click on the edit properties. And we're going to go in capabilities and then face tracking, and just make sure that the accuracy is on high, because that just means that everything that we've put tracked to our face will be on nice and tight to our face. What else are we going to do? Okay, and just down here on the left, where it says blocks in the assets bar, in the original file that we used, we did the templates to begin with. We are going to delete the block glasses because, as you can see, we no longer need them. So we can just delete the glasses and we're all good. And then lastly, hold on, have we got everything? Yeah. Texture, yeah. Okay, great. Lastly, we're gonna add a little light. So if we come to the top left again and click on add, and we can control our lighting as well. So we can come down here, we've got ambient light, directional light, environment light, point light, and spotlight. We're gonna go for a spotlight and drag that back up to our other lights just to keep it nice and neat. And then I've got my intensity is 100 and the range is 0.69. and then leave the other two. And we're going to change it to a nice blue and move the position to about 0.3. So now, as you can see, we've got this kind of like reflective blue light that we've got here. Yeah, that's my little face mask. And I'm gonna stop. And I think it's Tabby now.
Nice. Cool. So I am going to share my screen. Yeah, and for anyone who, again, like maybe there's a lot of new information here, but this is going to be recorded, and like you can refer back to it at any time. So definitely, you know, if it's going a bit fast or if like you haven't caught up, don't worry, you can catch up later. But we'll move on to the next step. So is my screen, you can see my screen okay? Cool, okay. So yeah, here we are with the place where Danny left off. And amazing, you can see it here. We have like the shiny face, we have the mask, we have the spotlight, which is looking quite cool. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this shoe FBX, which is in our project, and in our objects here, and we have shoe. We'll just click shoe FBX. We're gonna take this and we're gonna drag it into our little left-hand sidebar here. And we can see it showing up just at the top. So what we will do is we'll take this and we'll make sure that we have it under the face tracker here. So we'll just put it under there like that. And it might take a second to load. Sometimes 3D objects do. But we can see that it's in the middle of our head, which isn't ideal, but it's okay because we're gonna move it. So we're gonna take this green arrow at the top and we're gonna slowly pull it up along the axes. And you can kind of see it coming out of my head. Maybe a little too much. Yeah, let's just change these back to 0 because sometimes it can be a little funny in Spark, and you can move things in one way and then it ends up moving in a way that you never intended. So you can also Danny and Inez went over it as well, but you can also move things through here. So if you go like 0.5, then it's up here. We can see it's too far, so we can even go like 0.05. Not quite far enough. 0.9. You can see it's up here. I'm going to go 0.12. You can see it's right above my head here, but it's too small, so I want the scale to be larger. So I can just go in here and click the scale. All of these axes, I'm gonna click 5 for all of them. And we can see it's much bigger. It's still a little too close to my head. So I'm gonna just play around with this, make it 1.7. Cool, that's like a nice distance from my head. It's not touching my head. And now we wanna put a material in it. So if we go here, and we click the drop down arrow on the shoe, and then we click this object inside, there's going to be an option here for materials. So we'll click this drop down here, and we're going to click this silver material that Inez has already made. So it's the same material we used for the mask. Maybe you named it something different, and that's okay, but just click on that, and it'll automatically then apply it to this shoe as well. And what we want to do here now is to make the shoe rotate. And that's kind of one of the new things we're going to show you here is going into the patch editor. And the patch editor might seem a little bit scary at first, like maybe for people who've used 3D rendering softwares before, like Blender or Cinema 4D, maybe you have used like patch editors for shading. If not, do not worry. we're going to keep this really simple and really easy to do. But you can go to the patch editor by just going View and clicking Show Hide Patch Editor. And then there will be a little window that pops up here. So you can just like double click, and there's going to be something here that pops up, and it'll allow you to choose different sorts of patches to put in here. So what we're going to put in first is called a loop animation. So you can just type in loop animation will show up. You can double click it or click insert patch button. So we have this. We're going to do a second one now, and it's going to be called transition. So we can see it here. So again, you can either double click on here, or you can click add patch. And there we go. We can just click it with our mouse and move it around, you know. It's pretty easy to do that. So what we want to do now is we want to make the shoe rotate. So from here we can see if we're clicked on a shoe, we can see here there's something called rotation, and then there's a little arrow next to it. So we want to click on this arrow when it lights up yellow, and it's going to make this new patch in here. That's for the rotation of the shoe. And so that's here. We've got it prepped and ready to go. So we can go on this first arrow in loop animation. If we hover over it, it says progress, and then there's progress right here. So what we want to do is we want to link these together. So you want to just like pull this arrow into this arrow. And then we can see here that these are the kind of the values for what we're going to be putting into our rotation. So let's make these all 0 first. And then we're going to put the value into the 3D rotation. So it's not doing anything, of course, because our values are 0. But if we go 360 in the Y value, which is 360 degrees, which is like, of course, a full one, a full circulation, we can see that it's rotating. And yeah, so we can change the duration. So this is like for 1 second, but say we want it to go slower, we can put 5 seconds in here. And then we can see that it rotates slower. I think I want it to go a little faster, so I'm going to put 3, but completely as you wish, whatever you desire to be in there. But yeah, that is the end of this filter. So now we're going to go over how you can upload it to Spark AR and what you need to do to be able to put this filter or any variation of this filter on your own profile. So what you want to do while I'm still screen sharing is what you can do is you can test this filter on your own device. I'm going to put a link quickly into the chat. For anyone who maybe, if they're, where's the chat? Okay, I'm not sure why this is. I'm not sure why I can't access this. Okay, I'm going to put a link into the chat in a second when I'm not screen sharing anymore. But what you want to do is you can click test on device, and once your Instagram and your Facebook are connected together, you can just click this little arrow here that says send to app. And usually I send it to Instagram because that's usually what I publish on. And Instagram and Facebook sometimes has slightly different kind of stipulations and rules to what you can publish with. So always make sure that you're testing it on the platform that you want to publish it on. So I'm going to click here, send to Instagram. It's going to send it. And when it does, I'll get a notification on my Instagram. And it will allow me to make a test video. So when I get my notification, I can take a test video with it, And it's important that when you do that, you save that video because we're going to use it to upload it to Spark AR after. So let's see if this has come through. Okay, you can see here, I have this thing that says like test video. It's in German, but I'm sure you can get that. So yeah, so now I'm gonna do a little test video. And you can see here that I've done that. I'm gonna save it. And then I'm not gonna show you the process of sending it to my computer and stuff like that, but essentially you can go to sparkar.com, which is where you should have downloaded Spark AR from. And then all you have to do is you can say publish an effect. So it's not too bad of a process. It used to be much more difficult before and much more frustrating. But when you want to publish an effect, you'll click whichever platform you want to do it on. I want to do it on Instagram because that's what I want to showcase this effect on. When you want to export your effect, you're going to go to this icon here and it says export and upload. So there's even an easier way. You can go like this.
Can I just check, for me, I can't see what you're clicking on. I don't know if this is just an error on my screen. Is everyone seeing this properly? Ines, can you see the, no, okay. Tabby, we're frozen on your how to unlink or link my Instagram account. Are you sharing the correct screen?
Let me see here.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, thank you. I'm gonna stop sharing because I think my computer is moving a bit slowly at the moment, and I'm just gonna reshare it. How about it?
Maybe if we could go back and just say the last couple of steps as well.
Totally. Can everyone see it now? Can everyone see my screen? I'm going to take that as a yes. But essentially all I was going through was, yeah, so this is like Spark AR Hub. So you can either choose to publish an effect from here, but I'm going to show you how to publish it straight from Spark. So if we go back to Spark here, and then we click on this icon that says export and upload, then it will calculate your file size and you can just click upload from there. Cool, so it's met all the file requirements, the capabilities meet all the requirements. So I want to publish a new effect. So I'm going to click upload and it's just going to upload it here. Spark AR is going to upload, open in my browser. So sometimes it takes like a minute or so. Cool. And as we can see, it's just creating a new window. And again, yeah, sometimes it takes a moment because it has to like connect your account with your like Spark AR account. And that can take a minute to properly do that. But when it does, we'll go through the next steps. So again, it'll take you straight to here. You'll want to go and choose whichever platform you want to upload it on. I'm going to click Instagram because I generally publish my effects to Instagram. It'll have your effect file here already for you. You'll want to name it whatever you want to name it. So my filter, for example, filter. And you can choose categories as well. So this is a really good way to allow your filter to be discovered because Spark AR in their filter database, they categorize filters by these categories that you can choose here. So I want to choose appearance. I'm going to choose, and you can choose whatever you think is applicable, but I'll choose selfies as well. I'll choose moves maybe. You can choose up to 4. Feel free to pick and play, to do whatever you think is nice. Keywords, mask, Nike, shoe. Yeah, and you can choose whatever you'd like to there. With the owner over here, so I won't go too far into it, but essentially if you, for example, manage different pages on social media, it will also show those down there as well. But you want to make sure that you've picked whichever account you want to be sharing this filter to. So this is an important thing to keep in mind, is that you want to make sure that you're not publishing it to the wrong account. Yeah, and we can see my Instagram account is here, Tabitha Swanson. So the video that we took a bit earlier on Instagram and then we saved to our phone, you want to put it here in upload video. And then you need an icon for it. So this needs to be 200 by 200 pixels. I won't upload it here because I don't want to actually upload this one to my account at this moment. But yeah, just make sure that you're following the directions here. It's pretty laid out, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. But just make sure you're following the rules and kind of reading the text of what to do. And then visibility settings. So you can publish it as soon as possible, or for example, if you have like a set date and time, for example, with the Nike filter, we had a launch date. So what we all did was we chose a set date and time of exactly when we wanted it to be published, and we kind of chose that from here. That's also an option. And then review information. So you can even just say something like, this is a face filter that's for fun, etc., or this is a filter that does XYZ, just giving the reviewer a little bit more information on like how your filter works. And then the legal agreement here. Yeah, you can read the terms and policies if you want to, and then you just click submit. And yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward process, but hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you folks are able to take this and yeah, make your filters for yourself. And again, we would love to see them. Really excited to kind of discover what you make. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And yeah, I think then that we can open up to Q&A. So if you folks want to submit any questions into the chat here, we would be super happy to answer them. They don't have to be just to this filter. They can be towards like the campaign. They can be towards like us as creators. How do you create the assets? Inez, I think maybe you should answer this one first, because a lot of people are interested in the mask.
Yeah, so unfortunately, you can't really create 3D elements in Spark AR. You have to create and model them in other 3D softwares like Blender. Blender is a good software for 3D modeling because it's also free. You can use Cinema 4D, ZBrush. The only thing is to be a little bit careful about what you create, because a filter, what you create, or you can also download free assets. Like you type free 3D elements, free 3D model on Google, and you will find a lot of websites to find assets you can use for your filters. Just be careful of the number of polygons, because as a filter needs to work on a smartphone, it is limited in file weight. So there's like a maximum of 10,000 polygon, I think, something like this. So it has to be quite light. So yeah, just be careful with that. And yeah, I hope I answered your question. So the environmental lighting effect, like neon or spotlight, how do you create that bounces off different objects? Do you mean like an animated light? because you can animate a light, like when Tabitha explained how to animate the shoe on your face, you can animate the lights. So if you remember the blue lights that Danny added in the scene to make the reflection on the face blue, if you add a colored light and then you animate that light, you will have a lighting effect that will be animated and that will be bouncing on your face. I don't know if that's what you meant, Alice. Ines, in your filters, you import the object previously animated. So to import animated objects, it depends on the kind of animation you want to do. Like if it's an animated character, so you will have a character and it will be rigged, and you will do the animation of the character in your 3D software like Cinema 4D, and you import the FBX with the animation baked, and so that's very specific. But it will import an animation sequence in Spark AR, and you will see that in Spark when you will have to. There's like some other stuff to do. It's difficult to explain that in a minute, but you can find some tutorial in Spark AR for that. But you have to make this kind of animation in your 3D software. And some other animations, like the one like position, rotation, scale animation, you can do that within Spark using the patch editor. You can also, if you're familiar with blend shapes in Cinema 4D is like you have an object that has different, the same object has different shapes, and you can animate between those shapes. You can import that to Spark AR, which is pretty convenient sometimes to animate masks or whatever 3D object you imported. So and there's like lots of type of animation that you can do. So I hope I answered your question too.
Also, Alice, I wanted to say that I think an environmental lighting effect like neon or a spotlight, because obviously knowing that you do like neon things, let me just quickly share my screen again with you. You can also make things have an emission. I don't know if this is like what you mean as well, but like say for example, you've got like you can make your mask have an emission here on the right, and you can give it like a color and it will emit. Like, I don't know how great this is, but if that kind of thing as well, like they're not perfect, but you can make objects emit light as well. So yeah, I don't know if that was your question, but also another thing. That was your question, great. How do I unshare?
And then for materials, yeah, definitely you can. So just make sure that you've like exported the texture and like exported the normal map as well, like in, and I'll maybe quickly share my screen here. But yeah, in here you can add a different texture in here. So say you have a texture already that you want to import from, you know, an exported file in Cinema 4D or Blender or whatever, you can put it in here. And then you can also like add different things like your normal map in here, which can of course add like a, you know, different sort of texture within it. You can add like alphas as well. And it also depends on the material that you have. So whether it's like standard or physical, you have kind of different options in here. And there are some limitations, like you can't always get quite as detailed of options of what you can have within Spark AI, because really at the end of the day for Instagram, you can only have up to 4 megabytes of upload space. So sometimes you have to be a little bit clever or a little bit like yeah, just like kind of smart about how you're using these sorts of things, but there's a lot of room to play as well. Um,
Yeah, so the shadow file, do I need to create a shadow file beforehand for each model you import in the scene? That's what I do to add, when I add 3D elements on faces, because for now you don't have the options. When you, I don't even, no, even when you use, when you add a 3D element in the world camera, you have to fake the projected shadow in Spark AR. So import an image that you add on a plane underneath your 3D object, and that image will be like a shadow, and so that you fake the fact that your object projects a shadow on the floor. And that's basically what I do with when that's what I quickly tried to explain in the tutorial at the beginning. Sorry if it was too fast. I was looking at the clock and I was like, oh my God, it's taking too long. Really sorry for that. But basically, in my 3D software, Cinema 4D, that's the one I use, I have my 3D elements. I have the face mesh underneath it, which is the face mesh that I took from the face assets from Spark AR. I always start from this face asset, so I know it's made for Spark AR kind of face. And then I add a baking texture tag on my face mesh, and I export the ambient occlusion with my 3D element on the face. So it's gonna export an image of just the shadow underneath the 3D elements that I've placed on my face. And I will use that as an image on a face mesh to fake a shadow underneath my 3D elements. I hope that's clear, but yeah, you have to do the shadow file beforehand, and you import that in Spark AR.
And then the approval process from Instagram. Yeah, so they say on there it's like a standard 2 weeks for it to be approved. Sometimes it can be approved much quicker. Like I've had filters approved in like a day, but then sometimes depending on like what is included in there. I mean, I've had also filters waiting since February to be approved. So it's a very fickle process. Sometimes, you know, there's not always like a standard type of approval with it, but if you're not using things like facial deformation and stuff like that, usually it's within 2 weeks. So they've kind of evened out the system, so it's within about 2 weeks at this point.
Yeah, using face distortion is really like the filter I told you about, Tabitha and Danny earlier, that I've submitted again from February. I submitted then again, and checking a box in the properties of your project. There's like what Danny showed with the face tracking, the accuracy was high, and just underneath that you have the face deformation, and sometimes it can be ticked. And I forgot to untick that. I submitted my filters again, and they were approved in an hour. And I've been waiting for that for like March, from March. So yeah, be careful with the face deformation. They really hate it.
And also just be careful that they've got a lot of policies which are actually really useful to read before you even start making them. Like normally we all just tick terms and conditions without reading it, but if you read the policies, it can definitely help you get them approved quicker. Like I had a filter which literally just had the word sexy in, and it didn't get approved. Like they refused to because it had adult content. And I've also had filters with like literally just emojis which are available on every single iPhone you buy, even if you're 10 years old and have an iPhone. And again, they got rejected because it was the combination of emojis were again adult or sexual. So just be careful. You're going to get very angry. Just be prepared. You're going to endure if you start making filters. But yeah, if there are any others.
The 3D modeling. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe all of us can give some different tips on this. But like, I would honestly say just start. Like, there's so many. It's completely, there are different programs to start with. Like Blender, for example, is free. Um, I have been working with C4D for like a while, but I've recently been learning Blender, and it's different, but it's also like got some benefits, and there are pros and cons to different software. So like definitely maybe do a little bit of research before you kind of choose which one to jump into. But there's so many amazing tutors and like YouTube tutorials and like online courses that are either free or like very inexpensive. But I think just start doing it, you know? When I started doing 3D stuff, I was like, okay, I'm going to do like one tutorial a day. And sometimes, a lot of the time actually, it would turn out very terribly. But like, even just the process of repetition and the process of like trying things out and making mistakes and like maybe not being afraid of failing was like a really big thing, or just getting over that fear of failing rather. And just doing it, because at the end of the day, like I really believe in the 10,000 hour rule, or you know, even less than that, where if you do something enough and you put enough time into like just practicing a craft, you'll eventually become good at it. And no one's born, you know, coming out of the womb knowing how to do 3D software. Everyone has to learn.
With the HDR file, that is what. So when we were making the the physically based material, a HDRI is the environment. So if you've got some pre-saved on your computer, you can add them with your new environment texture. Otherwise, like Ines said, you can download them just from the add assets environment texture. So that is a HDR.
And you can find others HDRI on Google. Like you type free HDRI and you can find others like more abstract or more realistic. Depends on what you want to reflect on your elements, and it definitely creates different renders. So it's interesting to try different HDRI when you have a reflective element in your scene, because the result is going to be totally different from one to another. What is the best way to make a filter that has both 3D elements and makeup? What's the best way? I guess you can use the layers for that. You may want to use the layers. So you have one layer with your 3D elements that are on top of your face, and then one layer with your makeup that is on a face mesh. So they're not, it's just, it makes the scene more clear, and also it can prevent you from cutting one to another, or you will have the makeup on top and on top of your 3D element. So, and check the boxes that we showed on your tutorial in your texture. There's I can share my screen again a little bit, so just so you remember. But if you have a problem, like I had with my shadows, you have those boxes, the depths, because I can add like a layer. The O is going to be the 3D. Then I'm going to have a layer for my shadow or the makeup, but it's the same system. So the shadow will be on my shadow layer. Yeah, whatever. And mask is on the 3D. And as you can see, it doesn't make any difference because it should make, because of the depth. But check that if you have a problem of like the makeup going, so see here, I uncheck that, but my shadow is on top of my 3D elements. So now it's back to underneath. So just check the layers if you have any problems. It can make your project more clear.
Augmented reality and liberation, or critical process perspectives. I think we all probably have, yeah, maybe something to say on this as well. So maybe we can do like a round table or something. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe for me personally, I've like had filters, one in particular called Cancelled, that like really critiques Instagram and like kind of their censorship policies and stuff like that. I think that it's really important to understand that Instagram is still like a platform that has their own rules, and that we may not agree with those rules and stuff like that. For example, with like nipple censorship for just like femme identifying and non-binary identifying like bodies, stuff like that. So there is like a creative freedom in terms of like aesthetic perspective, but in terms of like I think you still have to be critical of these platforms, because at the end of the day they are still like owned by kind of capitalist corporations that do want to make money, and they have these kind of rules in there that may or may not be stuff that you agree with, and stuff that you think is incorrect or correct. But yeah, maybe passing it on to the next person.
Yeah, that's it's true that it's a shame that we can't be totally free to express. I mean, it's a shame, and it's also, it can be a security that sometimes you don't want to see a filter that is like too aggressive or violent, for instance. So it has the pros and cons, but sometimes it's just like, it's so stupid. Like Danny said, she couldn't use the word sexy or combine different images. That's just like, that's sometimes just ridiculous. But in terms of beauty standards, which is more within my practice, I would say that the importance and what's cool with filter is that you can play with your appearance. So it can just help you transform yourself in so many different things, that I think it can help just seeing yourself more beautiful using like beautifying filters, like the ones we saw at first when you could play with face filters, like they were first on Snapchat, for instance. They were like only beautifying filters, and now we can all see so many different and very creative ones. So I think it can help make beauty standards evolve. And I also think that it's really cool because it helps people overcome public shyness. So, I mean, I won't make that many stories of myself without filters. And I think the first story that I posted on, I don't know which social media platforms, I was wearing a filter, like maybe some ridiculous one making my face funny or something, I don't know, but I didn't want to show my real face. So I just see it as a way to, just have fun and de-dramatize your self-perception, if I can say. So yeah, that's my vision, my main vision of it.
Yeah, and I mean, mine are kind of different from that. Again, like Tabby said, I think they're really great to use as political things. Like, we're quite a vain species, and we kind of like to see ourselves projected in whatever we use, which is why I think it's so great. Like, for example, mine are quite political or like protest based. So if the person that is fighting, say, for non-binary or intersex or trans rights can then see their face within a scene that is also fighting for that, I think it's really useful. Like, they're really great for protest because essentially it's making a comment, but then you can share it to your own feed. Also, like Inna said, what makes 3D makeup any less real than real makeup? We live so much digitally online now. Like, who's to say it isn't real? Like, in my head, we were talking about this with me and my flatmates the other day, of like digital drag, and instead of you having to like go out and sew a costume and put makeup on it, you just have a filter. And again, it's just exploring different identities and parts of yourself, without actually having to go and get that like surgery or makeup or whatever you have to do. It's basically like playing around with your personality and avatar. And yeah, the digital space is definitely becoming as important, if not more important, than the IRL one. So yeah.
Totally. And I mean, I think building on that as well, like kind of IRL versus URL, both are important. And of course, like your real life experiences will always feed into your like digital experiences. But then like it's really interesting and kind of important to understand how your digital experiences then like impact your real life, and with expression in terms of like gender, in terms of like sexuality, stuff like that, like to be able to explore that online in like a way that has less boundaries can be really important, and also just like so accessible, you know. And that's kind of another really great thing about this stuff is like kind of the democratization of it and the accessibility of like online expression. And I think the important thing is to take that accessibility of like online expression, learn from it, take the teachings, but bring it back into real life and help affect policy. Because of course we can kind of make these surpass these like boundaries and stuff online, but then it's really important as well to kind of make sure that those changes and impactful things happen for people IRL as well, you know. Like there are so many countries and so many places out there that like still have really terrible rights and situations for like people of color, like POC, like queer communities, stuff like that. And yeah, taking that back outside and learning from it, making a real impact in that way as well. So we can kind of see it as like a holistic change and a holistic progression forward. Yeah. Cool. Any more questions? Oh, the 3D animated mask. I think maybe Inez, you can you can give the best tips on this one.
So I think so. You can't bake dynamic animation from Cinema 4D to Spark AR, unfortunately. So what I do for instance, if you know my work, I have like I use a lot of dynamics with veils, and you can't have dynamic in Spark for now. So I use indeed bones. So you add bones on face, and then there is some code to do so the bones move when you rotate your face. And when I started, I used a tutorial that existed on Spark AR with an antenna. You have like antenna on your face, and it were like moving with your face movement. But this tutorial doesn't exist anymore, so I had to get some help from coders and other Spark AR friends. And in the community, that's what's really cool. There's like a page called the Spark AR community on Facebook, and everyone can have access to this group and ask more technical questions, or just share their creations and ask for feedback and stuff like this. So you can get even like you go in the group and you search for keywords in the group, and you can find some answers to your question already, because there are like so many people that already asked a lot of stuff in there. So that's really helpful when you start creating, and if you're stuck with problems, and the community is pretty reactive. So that's kind of great.
The recording, we can share it afterwards on our social media platform, so make sure to stay tuned. But yeah, it is being recorded. It's going to kind of go through like a process with Zalando and Nike and stuff like that, but we'll share it later.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you for your participation and support and questions. Hoping it was clear and helpful, and can't wait to see your creations.
Oh my God, yeah, send it to us and tag us.
Please. so curious, so proud of yeah, all of you for following this, for trying to learn new things. Like it's yeah, just
And
about
again, when I first started learning, it seems so hard. And then when people are like, you just drag it in and it clicks to your face automatically, and you just pick a color. You're like, oh my god, I thought these people were geniuses, but turns out, and it's honestly very easy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
play around with it.
Okay, one last question. Shoot it to us.
Typing. Oh, Tabby, you're a queen at this.
Yeah, so you can, it depends on the program that you're in, but you can like reduce the polygons on the file. We can, sometimes the filter can't be uploaded to Instagram. Yeah, so you, sometimes the 3D files can be too big, and especially, for example, if you use like smoothers on it and stuff like that, like, or different other kind of modifiers depending on which program you're using. Mesh Mixer. I haven't used Mesh Mixer, but yeah, try that out as well. But yeah, reducing the polygons in Cinema 4D, it's actually really easy. It's like just as simple as kind of selecting the object that you want to reduce, and then kind of doing that. There are so many tutorials on it. If you just maybe look up like reduce polygons on like in Blender or like in Cinema 4D, you'll find like so many tutorials and they're really helpful. And then you can go from there and like export it. Usually I export it as an FBX, but OBJ also is fine. And then you just bring it in. But yeah, 4 megabytes is not a lot. So definitely, yeah, you got to be really kind of picky about what you include.
And you can also check the images that you imported in, and if you ever imported some images as textures, sometimes you have to go to use Photoshop or any kind of other software website to optimize your image and make them smaller. And as it's working on phones, you don't need that big images so it look good on your phone. So sometimes you can, especially if it's like, I don't know, you export an image and it's like 1,000 pixel, but you're going to use your image in an object that is going to be this size. So you can reduce your image to like maybe 400 pixels instead of 1,000, and it can save some room. And as you said, Tabitha, 4 megabytes is like super small. So you want to save even 100, not megabyte, but
Gigabytes, yeah.
the smaller one.
Yeah. You can also, in addition to doing it on Photoshop, you can also like compress textures in Spark AR as well, which like there are pros and cons to doing it both ways. But like if you just like, maybe I'll quickly share my screen for like 2 seconds. Cool. But if you just go here to like textures, you can like click on these files, and then click on whichever one you want. And then if you just like click here, you can see texture sizes, all the different devices here. If you click like this and you click on like PNG, it depends on, you know, you'll have to look into like which file you want to use. Like JPEG, obviously you can't have a clear background. PNG you can. This one has a clear background, so you want to stay with PNG, but like you can reduce the file size here as well. And I think you always have to play around with it, because sometimes like there's a threshold of how much you can reduce the quality while like still maintaining the look that you want to go for. But you can also kind of have that in here. Sometimes it takes a while to compress. Like as Inez said, like doing it in Photoshop can be a better option, because Spark, for one reason or another, can yeah, take a while to compress. But yeah, another option right here is just also doing it within Spark. Sick. Are we gonna make a course on Skillshare? Yes, maybe we will. That's we'll have to talk about that, but we'll see. But yeah, I hope that this was useful. And cool. I think maybe now is the time to sign off.
Yeah.
Yes. Please take us. Please. Intersex people do rule, man. Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Thank you, Tabby, for that concursion.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, let's stay in touch. Tag us in your filters. We want to see what you've made. Yeah, thank you so much for being here with us today. And we'll see you online.
See you on Instagram.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.